Lately, Red Bull has not been cooking.
What is it?
And they look more like a dumpster fire than the team that won 6 Constructors Championships in the last 20 years. And this is for a spoonful of reasons, like they've got driver problems, they've got car problems, they've got management problems, take your pick. However, it's not just one single issue. So rather than a copy-paste hate video on Liam Lawson, I'm gonna make an unbiased video on the real root causes behind Red Bull's downfall. To do so, I'll be taking a not-so-deep dive into Red Bull's history, covering just about everything from the drivers, liveries, management and whatever, from the year of the team's conception back in 2005 all the way up to the present day. At the same time, I'll be sure to include some niche facts, so this video is going to be entertaining even if you're an F1 guru.
Coincidence? I think not!
Like usual, if you want to skip to certain parts of the video, feel free to use the timestamps that are down below. Also, I'm trying to upload a video once a week, and because there was no race last weekend, I'm doing this instead. So leave your ideas down in the comments, because I'll probably end up picking one of them. Okay, intro yap over. Let's get right into it. Right, so the story of Red Bull Racing starts a long time ago. Once upon a time in 2004, Christian Horner was scanning Facebook Marketplace, lowballing people like he usually does. With £1 left in the bank, he decided he was going to buy an F1 team. And no, I'm not joking. Jaguar was bought out by Red Bull in 2004 for just £1. And Red Bull back then was nothing like the winning team that we know them to be. Back then, they looked more like a marketing department on wheels.
Pit stop.
The brand was everywhere. Seriously, the car looked like a big cat. Spot the difference.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Anyhow, Red Bull's first race was at the Australian Grand Prix in 2005 with their starting drivers David Coulthard and, I'm going to butcher this pronunciation, Christian Klein. Yeah, we're calling him Calvin Klein. Sorry, mate. 2005 also happened to be the year that the Red Bull Pyramid Scheme started. That's right, Christian Horner has been the team principal and Helmut Marko has been an advisor since this year. And you might be wondering, how have they kept their jobs this long?
I've read every theory on how they built those pyramids.
Not every theory, Joe. I think you forget that Helmut Marko is older than the pyramids. Just look what happened when I searched them up on Google. Google would never lie. Anyway, this pyramid scheme just grew with time. This is because in 2006, Red Bull managed to buy another F1 team. The team's name then changed to Scuderia Toro Rosso, which was the first of many name changes in the future. Oh, and for all you Duolingo Italian users like Ollie Behrman.
So?
Scuderia Toro Rosso essentially translates to a stable of Red Bulls. If that's confusing, this also translates to Team Red Bull. So yeah, call it a long shot if you want, but I think the Red Bull pyramid scheme is very clear. Like, these guys effectively control 20% of the grid, they can't be fired, and they cycle through drivers quicker than Logan Paul uploaded his apology video after he went wandering off at the Japanese Grand Prix in 2018.
I think there's someone.
Alright, no more yap about the Red Bull pyramid scheme, you get the idea. These guys came into F1 with one goal. They were going to win, and they were going to win big. Rightio, now that you know the foundation, let's actually go through the history of the team. So Red Bull's first year in 2005 can be pretty much summed up as par. They came 4th in the Australian Grand Prix, but that was their best result. They came 7th in the Constructors' standings. Anyhow, their odds turned when Helmut Marko rocked up to a LinkedIn networking event and met Adrian Newey.
Adrian, my name is Dr. Marko. I am from Red Bull. We would very much like you to join. Here's my card. You will ring me.
Now look, love or hate the guy, Helmut did something right because Adrian Newey did join Red Bull Racing in 2006. And although it did take some time for Adrian Newey's designs to kick in, they did get their first podium at the Monaco Grand Prix that year. In fact, Christian Horner promised the Red Bull team that if they got on the podium that weekend, he would jump in the Monaco pool naked, and that's exactly what happened. I'll give it to him, he's got a long history of workplace safety violations. Anyway, the car did get better, and in 2007 they placed 5th in the Constructors' standings. And that same year Mark Webber joined Red Bull, which in retrospect was the first sign of the Red Bull Civil War that was about to happen. So let's talk about the first Red Bull Civil War between these two guys.
I'm Mark Webber. I'm Sebastian Vettel.
Also, full disclaimer, ignore my accent, there is no prejudice in this segment. I would argue that the first incident between these two was in Japan. Now bear with me here, I know this was filmed at a potato. Basically, Sebastian Vettel's Toro Rosso hit Mark Webber and they both didn't finish the race. Here's what Mark had to say about it.
So kids, isn't it? Kids with not enough experience doing a good job and then they fuck it all up.
So yeah, safe to say they weren't best mates. Moving along, Sebastian Vettel won his first Grand Prix for Toro Rosso in 2008. Yes! Fun fact, Toro Rosso got their first win before Red Bull did. Right, back to the Civil War though. Noticing this performance, Sebastian Vettel and Mark Webber were Red Bull's 2009 driver lineup. Here's what they had to say about it.
He's actually not a bad bloke for the nationality.
I hope that at the end of next year I won't be walking through the paddock and say, no problem, mate. Thanks, mate.
But it all went downhill from here. Their next clash was at the 2010 Turkish Grand Prix. Oh, and I keep using the term Civil War because accidents like this prove that there were two sides within the Red Bull team. One side with Vettel and one side with Webber, and they kept clashing.
I'm giving that 100% Vettel's fault.
If your mind is certainly Mark's fault.
Unnecessary, the whole situation.
As you can imagine, this driver lineup deteriorated with time, and the Multi-21 incident was the climax of this.
Multi-21, sir? Yeah, Multi-21.
There were a few other things here and there. For example, one race weekend, Webber had to give Vettel one of his front wings.
In the end, Seb made his own decisions today and we'll have protection as usual, and that's the way it goes.
But there's no point dragging it. This was more than 10 years ago, and we love Sebastian and Mark Webber equally. And plus, the guys are low-key friends now. With that, at the end of 2013, Red Bull won 47 Grand Prix, 4 Constructors' Championships, and then Mark Webber retired.
Fantastic, guys. Not bad for a number 2 driver. Cheers.
Anyway, then Sebastian Vettel also left the team that next year, and then I don't know what you want to call this next era. Perhaps the quiet years of Red Bull? I don't know. Now, I'm not overlooking this era and saying nothing happened, but low-key, I want to make a Daniel Ricciardo video in the future, so I'm going to breeze through it now. All you really need to know is that from 2015 to 2020, the team amassed 14 wins. But there you have it. That's my not-so-deep dive into Red Bull's history. Anyway, before we get to the present, I figured I'd take you through my top 3 favorite Red Bull liveries. Remember, this is my opinion, don't grill me. Right, number 3. So do you remember in 2023 when Red Bull won every single race except one? Well, I do, it was boring. This meant that when a new livery dropped, it was exciting, and this is what we got for the Miami Grand Prix. Sue me, I thought it looked cool.
Blue, yellow, pink!
Alright, number 2. At the 1007th F1 race in 2019, Red Bull did a 007 collab. This one mainly makes the list because as soon as Aston Martin got bought out by Lawrence Stroll,
I am the chairman.
they tried to incorporate James Bond their own unique way, but instead we got the "Mum, I want to see James Bond. No, we have James Bond at home." And number 1 is the Star Wars livery that they ran in 2005 at the Monaco Grand Prix. My reasoning for this is just it was so random it was cool. Also, no wonder they did a Star Wars collab, spot the difference. Okay, but this brings us back to the present. You know, whilst making this video, I came to the discovery that I really don't want to rant about the current situation of Red Bull, because everyone knows that it's just not good. So instead, here's my concluding remark. Remember that pyramid scheme I talked about? It's falling apart. The founder of Red Bull passed away in 2022. Then a few months later, Christian Horner had his infamous Google Drive incident that I keep dragging on this channel. And then as soon as Adrian Newey left, they have been on the downfall ever since then. Rest in peace, Red Bull Racing. Anyway, that's all I got for today. Thank you for watching.
Thank you, Daniel.
Just a quick thing from my side, we made a Discord server, feel free to join. Oh, and let me know in the comments if you like it when I pop things on the screen like this. I just do it so you know I'm not yapping and I've got facts.